Okay, shall we go ahead and get started? As everybody's here on time, it's 5:01, so we'll go ahead and get started. And I want to first of all say thank you to everyone for coming in and joining us on the second session here. Uh, we're glad to have you back as we continue our journey towards strengthening our communities through Lions. In our first session, we laid out the groundwork by exploring how to set up effective teams, uh, to lead the charge in bringing new energy and service opportunities to our area or your areas. Now in session 2, we are in the mission takeoff phase. We will build on the foundation that was provided to you in the last session. Whether you already assembled your team or you're in the process of building your team, this session is designed to help you move forward with confidence. Together, we'll dive into the tools and strategies and outreach practices that will help you grow membership and successfully establish new clubs. Now, let's keep the momentum going and make even greater impact in our communities. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you tonight Lion Hilary Kumnick, past council chair. Connecticut Lion Hilary is a retired industrial designer. His spouse, Lion Lori, is a retired speech and language pathologist. They have 2 sons. Lion Hilary reestablished Lion's Quest after a decades-long absence in Connecticut by offering workshops to over 300 educators between 2011 and 2016. He initiated the MD23 Lions Diabetes Camp in 2018, and he's been Dean of the USA Canada Leo Leadership Forum. He was president of the New England Lions and often serves as a Lions certified instructor facilitator throughout Constitutional Area 1 and Constitutional Area 2. He has organized 7 community, specialty, and virtual Lions clubs since 2016, following 8 years without a new club. His home district has now chartered 13 new Lions clubs since 2016. 23C will add 2 more specialty clubs, the LGBTQ plus and environmental, in early 2026. Currently, Lion Hilary is the GAT area leader for 32 districts in 10 Northeast states plus Washington, D.C., and is honored to be training and supporting incoming governors as first vice district governor-elect group leader for first Vice President Mark Lyon. Everyone, please let's welcome Lion Hilary. Hilary, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Juanita. Very kind of you. I'm going to immediately pass the baton that was passed to me by Juanita on the West Coast. Passed it to me here on the East Coast. I'm going to pass it south to Lion Michelle, who did our first session, for a quick review of what she covered in session number 1 2 weeks ago.
Thank you very much, Hilary. I bet my weather looks very different from yours or Juanita's this evening, but at least we're all on the same page. Thank you guys for coming back, or if you did not come back and this is your first time, know that there was a recording and you can go back and listen to all of that again. But basically, we talked in session 1 about Lions goals and also why should you start a new club? What are the benefits to starting a new club? More hands mean more service, more new and fresh ideas, and more ways to meet the different needs in the community. We talked about some of the different club types and formats of clubs, like specialty clubs, campus clubs, Leo Lion clubs. What club type and format would make the greatest impact in the community that you're considering forming a club in? We talked about developing the team. Starting a club is not a one-person effort. It's a team effort for sure. Who all should be involved in that team effort? Not just your GAT team or your global action team, but also anyone else that has some key skills that would help you in your plan. And then we identified areas of opportunity, what cities, what schools, what nonprofits. I know here we just had a meeting last week about a club, a place where there was a club. The club folded. Some time has passed, and we think the community's ripe for a new club again. We think they're starting to fill the absence of the service that the Lions provide. So those are the things we all discussed in session one. And again, that was recorded if you need to go back and look at it and get caught up on some of those things. And now I'm going to tee the ball right back up to Hilary, and he's going to take it over and take you to the next steps. Thank you, Hilary.
Thank you, Michelle. Nicely done. And uh, so we'll go to the next slide, which is the agenda for our session today. And we are looking at, we did welcome and introductions. We're talking about outreach and publicity about our new venture, methods for approaching prospects, the ask, very important. Our first informational and organizational gatherings, we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about the paperwork, very important piece, as well as tools and resources. So 4 steps to a new club is our next slide. And we've reviewed the goals, the club types have a concept of, or in some cases have formed actual teams and ID'd locations and opportunities. That was step 1 and 2. Today, we're going to concentrate for the most part on step 3, a little bit on 4, but 3 is what we're targeting today. So that's where we are right now. We do have a poll question for everyone just to take the temperature of the space and see where everyone is coming from. So if we can run that poll, the first poll. And it's about your experience level. We want to know what your experience level is before we go too much further down this path. So if you could log in there, folks, it would be great. We'll give you 20 seconds or so to how many people do we have? Roughly 70 people, so 40. That's a good number right there. Good. So I apparently have a red button and I can end this poll. That was a mistake giving me control of anything. But I think we're going to end at 50. What do you think? Okay, I'm ending the poll. And it looks like most of us are intermediate or beginner. So we got a few novices. This is basically just one is a double diamond, has a vast experience at organizing or co-organizing new clubs, and a couple of experts. But this helps me a lot. See where we're coming from. We're mostly in the bottom end of the team. So let's go to the next slide, please. Which is where should a new club be promoted? And you can bring up all the colors, Juanita.
Okay.
Bring them all up. Now in the green area, I'm just going to go from right to left on our screen. We all love our flyers and posters and so forth. And that's a common thing in Lionism. I will throw another one in here. Lawn signs seem to help us when we're promoting the club. We can also, a business card is a critical component that a lot of districts I've heard don't really have a basic business card that everyone on the cabinet can share or zone chairs can share, or in this case, if you're canvassing a community that you can share as a Lion. So it's nice to develop that. As far as the blue, orient your methods to your audience. I think that this is critically important. You may be doing a community-based club, and if you're doing it in a senior community or a retirement village, you're going to want to focus on probably Facebook and a website. If you're looking at younger folks, you're going to go to TikTok, you're going to go to Instagram, you're going to go to WhatsApp for social media and so forth. And emails, again, older crowd. Typically, you're going to need to adjust this to our generations, depending on where you're going with forming a new club. And then finally, on the left, face-to-face contact comes into play with canvassing. With our service carnivals, more and more popular are service carnivals where we are doing some recruiting, whether we're talking about our service or engaging the participants in fun service hands-on activities. It's face to face, and it's of critical importance that you get your message across. And we'll talk about your messages in a little bit. Guest speakers are terrific to get our message in front of crowds, go where the people are, and offering presentations on relevant topics. And don't forget to invite your community partners to participate in any of these gatherings where you are doing in-person discussion of Lions activities. So next, please. What should we say? This comes into play in canvassing. I've had the privilege of doing I think 6 of my 7 clubs that I've organized have been community-based clubs. And in that, you've got an elevator speech. How do I open my elevator speech? I typically say that we're the global leader in community and humanitarian service. That's my quick summary after I introduce myself naturally. And then I immediately, while I'm doing that, I'm thinking about the individual that's in front of me, whether it's the mayor of a town or a business person or a not-for-profit person in the community. We're going to adjust our message for that person. That's why I put our vision statement first. It gives me a chance to look at the walls to determine if they're supporters of youth league teams, or there's a trophy for another athletic activity or speech contest, or that there's evidence that they're giving out scholarships to people. So you look on the walls, you see what awards and what is significant to them, and then you can orient where you go with your questions near the tail end, because you're going to want to also mention a few successes. It's always wonderful, based on what you've observed on with that person, that you again orient it to their interests. And in this case, say it's a youth organizer, you're going to want to have a few successes related to that. Like in the town next door, we did 1,500 kid site screenings. Wouldn't it be great if we could do this in this town? If we had a Lions Club, we'd be able to actively to do that. Or earlier in the year, we sponsored scholarships in another town nearby. Those types of things are the successes that are important that they hear about. Not that they hear about meetings and that they hear about fundraisers and that they hear about other items that may not be as relevant to them. So step 4, then we're going to get to the meat of the tomato. The first 3 steps have been accomplished in probably 3 or 4 minutes, 2 to 3 even. Step 4 is where you're asking them open-ended questions, not yes or no questions, but open-ended questions about themselves, about what are their interests and passions. And listen closely to their answers. We're going to need to hear, do they want to establish have they always wanted to establish like a pollinator's pathway in town, for instance, is one that comes to mind. And your answer hopefully is, yep, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. We can find funding for that. We can find other people in our club that are probably interested, or even form a club branch of others that are interested in pollinator paths. So your answer has to be positive, and it has to be based on their their interest and their passion. And this is a direct outgrowth. The listening part comes more and more to the fore here when we're bringing prospects in. This comes out of the summits. And at the summits, we did role playing with this very thing. And we learned through Daniel Marnie Elkins that we have to listen first and respond a certain way, meaning positively. And yes, we can do that. Our club can do that. Yes, we'd welcome you and we'll welcome whatever your passions and interests and causes are. So finally, practice it. Do it in front of a mirror if you like. Do it with your partner, or do it with other lions at a cabinet meeting or a council meeting. It's important that we all are comfortable with our little elevator speech and that we can adapt it to whatever situation we're in. How will we recruit next? And canvassing is one of the areas that again, I've had the benefit of doing many times in multiple districts. That's where you are going to businesses, not homes. Be very careful with that. It's a rare community that they're going to be happy with going to residences. You're allowed to go to businesses, you're allowed to go to government offices and so forth, at least in this part of the country. But I'd stay away from doing residential canvassing unless it's approved, unless you're into a neighborhood association or a HOH situation where you have permission. But stick to businesses with canvassing, I will say. Targeted recruiting has to do with going after maybe a community leader that was referred to you by another lion. And this can sometimes just yield amazing productivity. You may go to a first select person or mayor of a town, and then the next thing you know, you're walking out of town hall with 3 charter members, maybe even as many as 5. I've witnessed that. It's if you go to the top people in town, targeted recruiting, meaning superintendent of schools, the police chief or fire chief, and again, the first select person or mayor, make sure that you have an appointment with any of those heavy hitters and do it first before you actually are out doing canvassing in the community, because sometimes it just snowballs. If you get your first select person or mayor to sign as a charter member, the rest literally falls in place. I can promise you that. So know that and make that a key part of the initiation of your canvassing. So that's the targeting. Group conversations, group offerings is meeting with established groups. I think that we all know what that is. It could be a neighborhood of retirees. We have a mobile home community here and occasionally we will go and speak to them every few years. Group recruiting, basically the same thing. Go where the people are. I can't say that enough. Don't just assume that people are going to come to your thing. Check out the communities and go where folks are in that community. Social media and print, 100% must, absolute must. That when you are establishing a new club, that you have one of the first things is once you get that name going, get the Facebook page up and running, or other social media, Instagram or whatever else you choose, as well as get some publicity out there, whether it's through online news or print media. Is still somewhat effective in some markets. So be aware of that. And of course, the event activity recruiting, as I said, go where the people are or create an event, whether it's a service carnival, which I hope everyone is familiar with, or tack on a few tables to an existing carnival, like a farm market. You may just be able to say, well, for this one farm market, would it be okay if we attach 2 tables describing our global causes at the end of your and use those for mild recruiting as well as just getting the public informed about our global causes. And I believe you will find that effective. Or go full in with a full-blown service carnival where you have hundreds of people go and children go through. So those are ways that you can recruit. Next up is the recruiting wheel. And click on that. Recruiting wheel is the most important piece, recruiting members of developing new club, obviously. And it's important that you reach out to other Lions for tips, that you start listing among your group of organizers who they think in the community are folks that you should go after. Tracking names. It's important that a spreadsheet be started. We talked about that in recruiting in our well, we did share that when we're canvassing and we're doing that elevator speech, try to make sure that you have a scribe with you. Again, 2 people, maybe 3 in each canvassing group, but one of those people should be your scribe. Somebody should be at the beginnings of a spreadsheet or at least a list of those particular members, who we're targeting and what their response is, and maybe what their interests are. As I said, they may have a cause that's near and dear to their heart. That should all be part of the records that are kept. And it's important that someone on your team, your recruiting team, that day and throughout the process, track that. So this is the recruiting wheel. And I will say there are other sectors that you can target in your community. And this is good for whether it's a community-based club or a specialty club. So be advised that this recruiting wheel is effective for really any type of club. Next, please. So the benefits of being a Lion. And I, I have to say, if there are other benefits, you can put them in the chat. That might be kind of cool to see if because this is a pretty comprehensive list. I'm just blasting through the chat here now, but it's a pretty substantial list. And I will say what it doesn't have is, it's kind of funny when show of hands, who remembers when Bob Corlew drove his bus around the United States and visited a bunch of different states throughout the South, the East, and then he headed towards Chicago. Yeah, I see some hands go up. So President Bob Corlew, when he was coming in that summer, he had a bus with beautiful graphics on it, and he came state by state and visited with the Lions all around the country. What I'm getting at is his take on this was he had done some research and found that volunteers, Lions, as he put it, volunteers enjoy longer and healthier lives than the same age general population. He had found a study that had been done, or a series of studies, that proved to him that Lions live longer than other people and live happier, more productive lives. So that's one of the benefits of being a Lion, and that has stuck with me ever since Bob Corlew came through the great state of Connecticut. So I wanted to share that as well. So in the chat, did anybody any additions to this one? No. And please pipe in Juanita or Mark if you a lot of talk about the temperatures, aren't there? Isn't so the next slide, please. So this chart is indicative of, there's a black box in the middle. Is everyone else seeing that or just me? Okay, it's gone off. The early adopters, those are the folks that when you knock on the door of their business or their office, they're in automatically. And I will say in rare cases, but it has happened where people said, gosh, I've been waiting since I retired, or I've been waiting for 5 years or 10 years to be asked to join the Lions. That always saddens me a little bit, but because we kind of don't ask enough. But the early adopters are the folks that sign right there, right then. They listen, they're interested, they know about the Lions already because they're either community champions or they're just involved in their community, and they're in. So that's the easiest crowd to bring on board. My experience with the group two is that about 90% of that group number two, your high interest prospects are going to join us as well. So don't discount groups 2, 3, and 4, because group 2, you're going to get 90 or more percent of those folks are going to come on board. Group 3, I would say, based on, again, on my experience, you're looking at about 50% of the Lions that may be interested, can't really attend, keep me informed, those folks right in the middle group, you're going to get half of them. And then it drops off precipitously. A group 4, which is possible prospects, are the folks that might shrug you off. I will caution you, about 20 or 25% of them do come on board. And many of the people in group 4 are the people that you might interpret as being cold to the idea. What they're really doing is they're mulling it over in their head. They're going home. They're going on their computer. They're doing research on what do the Lions do? Who are the Lions? What's it's all about? They're doing their own homework. And as I said, 25% of group 4 are going to come on board. And the other group 5 is our folks that are just give you a straight negative answer, keep them on a list, maybe give it one more shot to poke them, or two, invite them at least to your informational gatherings or and the organizational gathering. So that's really it. Your scribe comes into play again. This is where that person on your team that maybe isn't thrilled with doing canvassing or doing other things related to in-person, face-to-face stuff, this is where they come in. You're going to need people on your team that can follow up with notes, letters, emails, calls. You're going to need people on your team that can organize a charter night and the charter celebration. So there are roles for all kinds of folks. You don't just have to be a canvasser or a recruiter to be on the team to form a new club. There are roles for everyone. Believe me. On to the next slide, please. So asset-based community development, or ABCD, this is a presentation that I believe came out of District Governor-elect training at the Q Center a few years back, maybe as short as 2 years ago. I'm not sure exactly the genesis of this recording. Just looks like that's what it might be to me. But if you can run it anytime you're ready, Juanita, and it's Daniel Marnie Elkins.
Form a new club or revitalize an old club, it is important to know what assets or potential partnerships exist in your service area. This is called asset-based community development. When we only had 5 members, we wrote down a list of every single organization in our service area that shared a similar mission to what our club wanted to focus on. In our case, it was serving the youth. We wrote down a list of every nonprofit, religious, or civic organization that served the youth in our area. We then found out when their next community event was. Instead of waiting for them to come to us, we put on our Lions gear and went out to volunteer at their event. Which brings us to the second narrative frame. Actions speak louder than words. By taking our service to their event, we didn't need to tell them who lions were. We showed them with our service. Invariably, at the end of every event, someone would come up and thank us and ask how they could get lions at their next event. All we had to do then is say, well, why don't you come to our next meeting and tell us all about it? This brought up partnerships. We are not the only organization that wants to make the world a better place through service. If you use asset-based community development to identify potential community partners who share similar goals, it is possible to increase your capacity to serve far beyond what your club would be capable of doing on its own. By using strategic recruitment to bring in members who are already doing service in their community, you can expand upon the resources that your club has access to. Now, when you ask a potential recruit who is already helping the community to become a lion, their typical response is, "I'm too busy." Your response should be, "We are not asking you to do anything extra. We are asking you to do what you are already doing in the name of Lionism. And in fact, we're offering to help you do it." In the process of building our club, we focused on a new type of club model. I call it the coalition model. My professional background is in the field of drug prevention, and I have helped form many different types of coalitions. The theory behind this work is that a strong coalition will be built to include representatives from 12 separate groups of the community. Here is a picture of the lists of groups needed in a successful coalition. The theory is that if you can get someone from each of those groups sitting at a table ready to serve the community's needs, there is no problem that your community can't find a solution to. This is how we recruited members for the Bellefonte Lions Club. We took this list of groups and attempted to identify potential community partners and future recruits who could fill in those roles. We used asset-based community development to identify the organizations in our community who might be interested in helping us with our mission. And then we showed them who Lions were through service at their events. This led to creating a coalition model club based on the principle of in partnership with.
So bravo, Daniel Marnie Elkins. He's always inspiring. And in this case, we learn a little bit about his roots as a
Club,
as a
or revitalize an
I'm
old
sorry about that. Start all over again. There you go.
Thank you, Juanita. So we heard a little bit about his background as a prevention specialist, as a director of a local youth programs, and so on and so forth. And I will say the asset-based community development model is really there's organizations in our communities, in just about every one of our communities, that base that process for their capacity building to grow their service and meet their needs, which are more specific to youth and populations in need. So 5 steps, and we'll come back to a little bit of that in a few moments. But before I get to 5 steps of starting a club, I want to go back to what are the benefits of being a lion, and some really heartfelt responses, kind of cool, kind of, and a couple of funny ones. Benefits of being aligned: family, lifelong friends, insurance for coverage of your projects, uh, meet your future partner. That's first Vice District Governor Babette. That's a funny one. Networking makes you feel good. You're making a difference, and so on and so forth. So those were some of the responses to what are the benefits of being aligned. Very cool. Thank you for that. And so again, capacity building through ABCD, asset-based community development, is what we're all about as well. And we may not know that yet, but we're going to be hearing more about that type of model as we go forward in coming years. Actions speak louder than words. Show who you are through service, and service, service, service first. In canvassing, in reaching out to prospects, whether it's a neighbor or chief elected official, lay low on the meetings, fundraisers, all the heavy lifting that we may feel we do in our clubs. The emphasis has to be on service, the wonderful service we do. Celebrate the service when you're selling lions is what I would strongly recommend. And partnerships. You heard Daniel comment on that. I don't know that I need to any further, but bringing those folks to the table, and we'll get into that with the 12 sectors, means they're already at the table. You're not out finding, for yourself what the community needs are. They're being brought to you. And the coalition model clubs, it's something that's sort of just beginning in our great association, where clubs are expanding into coalitions. Coalitions are expanding into clubs. It's very interesting, and I don't think that we should ignore it. In your own community, if you do have a drug prevention coalition or youth and family services, et cetera, that has programs, please consider partnering with them, but beyond that, uniting with them and sharing roles, and appoint a liaison to their effort, and they will hopefully appoint a liaison and a member to your effort. So please consider that. Community needs evolve, so must our service. Progress and evolving, flexibility, those are not dirty words. We need to continue to evolve to meet the expanding needs of our communities and the world. And we cannot just stay where we are and expect everything to come to us and expect we have to evolve is the bottom line there. So next slide, we'll get into the 12 sectors a little bit. This is something, again, very near and dear to Daniel's heart, as you could see. It's something very near and dear to my heart as a long-term community coalition member and leader. I will tell you that these sectors are the basis for CADCA, Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America's grantees. They have to have in their coalition all 12 sectors. Why? Because these 12 sectors, when you're sitting around a table with leaders from your community, from these 12 sectors, the needs are being brought to you. You don't have to do a needs assessment. You've got the people right there around you, right in front of you. And it's a wonderful, wonderful model for both establishing new clubs as well as expanding our existing clubs or reorganizing or rebuilding clubs, however you want to put it. So be advised, you are going to see more of this coming. And I think Tracy from Leadership Division can probably attest to this, that this is another tool that we can use to expand our outreach and generate capacity building within our clubs. And I hope we can all embrace it. And finally, youth is at the core of these 12 sectors. Just as youth is at the core of everything we do as Lions. So know that this model is friendly to what we do, because just about every club I know of is doing scholarships, is doing kid site screenings, is doing sponsoring of leagues, is doing so much for our youth. as are our coalitions, and as is this model for capacity building. So embrace it when you see it, lock in on it, and we'll go from there. Next, please. So this is one of the sample to-do lists, and you saw it in Michelle's part one, emphasizing 1.1 through 2.9 or so. These are the steps in our area in step 3, which is 3.1, 3.2. Why are these important? They're checklists that help us better form new clubs. It helps us see that we're not going to miss something, that we're not going to not be aware of all the different steps. These plans, and I believe there are 2 of them circulating. And Juanita, will these be sent out, or were they sent out after Michelle's plan, or will we be sending these out at the end? Do you know?
Yes, they were sent out the next day.
Excellent, excellent. So
Yes.
the folks that attended the first one, if you have the recording, I believe you should have access
Yes.
to these. So terrific. You know, and it's a full document. So very, very helpful in forming new clubs and not forgetting simple steps. Not every step has to be done either. I mean, you're not locked in. There are some that, depending on the nuances of whatever club you're forming, may not be necessary. So know that as well. Now, next is the informational gathering. I'm somewhat opposed to using the word meeting. The next slide is informational meeting, and you'll hear me say gathering more often than not in place of the word meeting, but that's just me. Preparation. Next slide, please, Juanita. The preparation. Oh, we have a poll.
Yeah, we have a poll question here.
Ooh, okay, cool. Well, this is also pertinent as to where we are as a group. So you're going to have a poll come up, and if you could think about where you are in the process. What kind of club is everyone, or the 70 people or so on this call, going to focus on next? So if we could bring up that poll. Here we are. Okay. Have at it, gang.
Oh,
A lot of community-based right in the early lead.
yeah.
A good balance, though.
Yeah.
I like that. We'll get to 60. So 52, that's about where we peaked out last time. And I will 3, 2, 1. Somebody snuck in right at the last second. So community-based, clear leader, and I would imagine that's in some part to replace clubs that we're losing. And it's our comfort level. The specialty combined is roughly, 20, almost 30%. So and club branches, I see a solid demand for that. And the join together is something we'll touch on going forward. I want to make sure that everybody at least has some knowledge of what the join together program is, and it does come up in a slide shortly. So that is interesting and helpful. And I'm a little bit surprised that there's not more of a slant on specialty clubs, because I know that that's where my personal district is going heavily into specialty clubs, because we are saturated in our communities with towns here in Connecticut with clubs in each town. We've got 160 clubs in 169 communities, some very tiny. So it's that's what's forced our hand to go into specialty-based clubs. So with that, move to the next slide, which is again the informational meeting or gatherings. Perfect. When you have your informational meeting, that's going to be the first meeting that the club meets face to face, the members. And it can often be at a municipal location, library, meeting space, usually at a neutral site, restaurant. Okay, but we want to keep the expenses down. There's usually not a big budget for the district on new clubs. So we while we're doing our canvassing, we're also keeping an eye out for where the club can meet these first few gatherings as well as their regular gatherings. So setting up the room, I will say, when the first bunch of clubs that I was mixed up with organizing, it was basically a theater setup with a front table or speakers in front type of setup. As of late, in the last year or so, 2 years, it's been a circle. And the circle has been really helpful in our informational gatherings. I will say, when you're setting up for that, please consider putting everyone in a circle. The informational gathering is typically not all that well attended compared to some of your subsequent meetings. So don't be terribly disappointed if you don't have the numbers at your informational gathering that you envisioned. It's not uncommon, and it shouldn't bum you out at all. Just keep forging ahead, and you'll be fine. The dress, no cabinet uniforms. I can't stress that enough. No vests, no more than one, maybe two pins. Let's not floor these people with our uniforms, rituals, ceremonies, and so on and so forth. Stay away from that. Make sure the sponsor club is there as far as you prepare. Don't leave them out. And if guiding lions have been assigned or are being discussed by the governor's team, make sure that they're invited as well. As far as conducting the meeting, try to remember at all times who you're addressing at this meeting. They are novices. I think probably the most important thing is the acronyms that we are so they're really embedded in everything we do as Lions. Stay away from them with these prospects, with these new Lions. It can be a turnoff for them. So try to stay away from the acronyms if at all possible. The format of our meeting, informational meeting or gathering, one format that has been successful is to have two speakers, so to speak, for 10 minutes. The first one does Lions Clubs International and Lions Clubs International Foundation, the macro view, the umbrella organization. And then the second speaker focuses on what community clubs do or what specialty clubs do, depending on which cohort you're talking to, but orient the second person to discuss where these folks may fit in going forward. And talk money up front. Should have been mentioned at recruiting, has to be mentioned at the informational gathering and at the organizational gathering. But this is where you've absolutely got to lay out the fact that there are dues, and in many cases the application fee, unless the sponsoring club picks it up, or some cases the district picks up the $35 application fee. So hopefully you have that mechanism in place too. But make sure that these folks are fully apprised of what their dues are. The worst thing, and I've seen it happen, is when somebody gets all the way through to becoming a member and filling out a charter application and getting it in, and haven't paid their dues because they weren't told about dues, and it has happened. And then finally, as you conduct the informational gathering, closely observe who emerges as leadership talent. Who's leading the conversations, who's possibly being who's respected in the meeting, and so on and so forth. Just know that your role as a club organizer or a district official is not just to sit there and do your spiel and then hang out and listen, but really focus on who the leaders are, because one of the goals of the organizational meeting is to come out with all your executive officers and your board in place. So that function has to start before the informational meeting and throughout the informational gathering. As far as the follow-up, we're all pretty solid, I think, on that piece. We do a good job as Lions with emails, and I think I have no doubt that your scribe, so described scribe or scribe team, will follow up if you've been solid in your action plan to make sure that they are informed that this is part of their responsibility. And sending meeting reminders falls into the same category. So let's move on to the organizational meeting, which typically you've had an informational meeting. You may only get a dozen people there. You may get 14 or 15. You won't see all 20 or 25 of your recruits. I can promise you that. And you may get as few as 8 or 10 at your informational meeting. Your organizational meeting, you'll probably see that or more. You'll see a few more because you've been encouraging folks all along. I hope it's in the resources that we're going to talk about, where you are hopefully bringing people in, and the recruits are bringing their friends, family, neighbors, coworkers in as well. So 2 weeks or so, a week is a short time, but 2 to 3 weeks later, probably no longer than that, and probably no shorter than that, is your organizational gathering. At that point, the room, the preparation, all that business, same, uniform. That's the same as informational meeting, essentially. Conducting the meeting, I would strongly encourage you to really get the charter members talking about service. Where do they see themselves as a club? What are their passions and interests as a group? See what emerges from those discussions. Really important that that's the case, that you are, again, observing for service ideas, but also leaders from this group. Sponsoring club, it's down under conducting the meeting. They might take a little bit more of a role in this as well, as far as conversationally. The treasurer, the secretary, the charter president, they're all going to have questions. And that's where the sponsoring club can come in. And it also broadens the responses. As club organizers, please don't be the only one that responds to questions. Make sure that you direct questions to the sponsoring club members, the appropriate officer. If a charter treasurer asks a question, lean over to the sponsoring club's treasurer and see if they have an answer for it first. Let's try to broaden the responses and make all of our team more involved in the process. So the sponsoring club involvement increases. Calendar discussion. Set next meeting date. It goes a little bit beyond that. So yes, you're going to set your next meeting date. You're also going to make sure that there's some grasp of the calendar going forward. When you might meet, where you might meet, all that business should be part of the organizational gathering. And as far as follow-up, that doesn't change a lot either, really. It has to be more training focused. You've got to hopefully channel the folks with a couple of laptops so that they can get on the portal, for instance, so that they can find the Learn platform and improve their technical knowledge of what their duties are. So it's a wonderful opportunity to pop open a couple of laptops, just show them how easy it is for you to get on the portal, and then they'll go home and do the same, we hope. And with that, the training, promotion, 90 days from approval of your application, you can continue to add charter members. So be advised with that, that they can still continue to bring in their friends and family, and you can continue to recruit. Finally, the guiding lions, the district officials that are organizing this club, and the sponsor club officers all have to be now part of the team going forward. So that's our organizational meeting in a nutshell. And I just want to ask, I guess, if there were any questions or anything that I see some folks, Tracy has to go to a meeting, and some have to leave because of timing. So next slide, please. Determining the club name is kind of a funny one. You know, everything has to be geographic or an area or a regionally recognized name. However, you can also connect it to a university or a religious affiliation. Just be advised that you need written, typically, we're finding, and it can hold up the process a little bit, so start it early. You need written approval from many universities and many religiously affiliated clubs in writing on their letterhead to use the name that you've proposed for the club. So it's a bit of a juggling act because you're trying to get a name approved by LCI and, in this case, say a university or a faith-based organization. So it can be a little bit of a juggling act. Start that early, please. It's really important to do that. The region, sometimes I've seen names of clubs start off with a repetitive title. I mean, in my own district, Eastern Connecticut Lions Mental Wellness Club, Eastern Connecticut Lions, club, Lions. And so what happens is in our databases, in our Excel spreadsheets, all you see is Eastern Connecticut Lions, or I'll make one up, Western New York Mental Wellness Club, Western New York Youth Advocates Lions. All you're going to see in the first part of just about any drop-down list is Western New York. You're not going to see the name of the club, which is the mental wellness club of that district. So my recommendation is, if you can, put that more general often used title at the end: Mental Wellness Lions of Western New York, Youth Advocate Lions of Western New York. Put that at the end of the title, just so that it pops up a little more easily in databases, spreadsheets, and so on and so forth. And you don't have to move the columns over to see the whole name of the club or in your directories. So that's my suggestion as far as club names. Next slide, please. Submitting the charter application. I think many districts that have been doing clubs for a while have settled in on one key person in the district managing this, and often they're in the GET role, the Global Extension Team role, but they could have other roles. It's just that their experience is they're masters at putting together the applications and getting on the portal and working their way through the process. And that's wonderful. But for novices, it is also a fairly easy process. What I will tell you is, Tracy left. I don't know if Suzanne is still with us. But I can tell you that there you go. Board policy can be a helpful resource for reference. She just posted something. So she's still with us. And I will tell you that it's easier on the staff if you start the application early. We do have and I have seen a few instances where it becomes just a big info dump where you have all the members saved up somewhere else. You've got the name, the EIN, all this other business, and you just pay all at once and dump all the names in and send that application in all in one big bite to the LCI staff, and then they've got to go through their special areas, the bursars, the membership division, the naming, the approvals, all this stuff has to be done by different folks in Oakbrook. And it's really not fair to them, to our staffers, that you do the big info dump. So please, if you have a club in the works, start the application and work your way through it as you add members, add the fees being paid, and so on and so forth. So that's my 2 cents on taking some of the load off of our terrific staff. And I always get a kick out of the bottom line of this submit charter application page, the 10 plus clubs. Now, if your district has 10 or more new clubs in a fiscal year, you have a special form you have to. But believe it or not, in CA1, in the Lions of the United States, I believe we had one Texas district that had 9 new clubs. So it's not, it may happen in CA1, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that someone on this call puts 10 clubs in and has to fill out that documentation of support. So the next slide, please. A new club action plan. Oh, fees, dues. I skipped over that. There is a chart that comes up on a subsequent page that shows all the fees and dues. We'll get to that in a second. I want everybody to know that there are different breakdowns, and you should, when you're recruiting, you might be surprised how many people you recruit were Leos at some point in their life. So they can go in as Leo Lions, even if they served for a short time as Leos. So know that, and there are savings involved. Of course, the family discounts is a wonderful selling point to bring spouses or partners in, and know that as long as they're living under the same roof, they'll get that family discount. The entrance fees is something that I personally, as an organizer, work hard to find another source for. I, early in the process, go to the sponsoring club and try to get them to cover the entrance fees from their admin. And it's helpful to do that when you're out recruiting or canvassing. It's very, very helpful to not have to also ask for the $35 in addition to explaining that they're going to have to pay dues. So please, I would encourage you to possibly find either a benefactor for those entrance fees, the $35 charter application fee. It is waived in a few cases. Know that.
Hilary, we do have Dr. Liz Yo with her hand raised.
Pardon me?
Dr. Liz Yo, she has her hand raised. She has a question.
Excellent. Good. Go ahead, Dr. Liz.
I was just going to comment on something you said earlier about the 10 clubs. We actually have one in California, a district. I think they've done, 5 or 6 clubs already this year. I could be wrong. PDG, Juanita or Mark can verify that, but it's a possibility they could get to 10 this year. She's going like wildfire. And that's all I wanted to say.
Well, that's great. Thank you. And on that point, that can be a bit of a I don't want to say overwhelming. It'll be a substantial burden to your district. You've got to have a guiding lines for all that. Often, at least our districts or multiple districts provide certain of the ceremonial things, flag sets, all that other business. The sponsoring club supplies them, but I will say it can be. We had 5 clubs in my own district last Lion year, and I will say it is. I wouldn't call it a struggle. It's a wonderful thing, but you really have to have it together to manage that amount of influx of new clubs. 10, I couldn't imagine bringing in 10. I just couldn't. But power to the districts that do that. Go ahead, Marianne. Thank
you.
Thank you, Dr.
One of the things I do want, it's just a comment, but there's usually multiple district and district dues along with the club and international. So I kind of don't want people to think that this would be the only dues they would have, because it does have to explain that, like in our California, we have a multiple district and districts, so we have those dues as well. So just a point of thought there.
You're absolutely right. That's probably something I could have added to this slide, and it's an important piece because those are starting to add up to
Yeah.
$5-10 a year per, whether it's a district or multiple district. So nicely done bringing that up, Marianne. So moving on, let's go to the next slide. This is another new club action plan that, again, a healthy reference for going through the process. It is going to be important that you have either one or both of these checklists in front of you when you go through the process, if you're a novice especially. These were really thoughtfully put together by folks that know what they're talking about. And I would strongly encourage anyone who's organizing a new club to have these lists at their fingertips going forward. Next, please, recruiting materials. So Tracy left. We have the new club development guide, which is amazingly essential to our work, and I'm holding one in my hand. And again, it really outlines a lot of the things that we're talking about here. Recruiting materials extend also to a certain degree to a community needs assessment guide, which is a club community needs assessment guide, which is going to be helpful to you as well. So there are enormous amounts of recruiting materials at your disposal that you're going to want to take a peek at. Other materials might include, we'll get into this one in a second. There are posters, and then you go to resources page and drill down. There are wonderful posters that you can post in your community that give the contact name, and where your meeting is going to be for more information. Contact celebrating a new club, your charter night planning guide. I don't know why it's night, because we see more and more charter celebrations during the day, but charter night planning guide is also available as a resource for you. Just Ask is something I believe probably everyone on this Zoom has seen, and if you haven't seen it, then get yourself a copy. You can order them in allotments of 5, 10, or 25 from LCI. Again, same place, just fill out that form. Make sure you get the language correct when you are seeking these member resources. And again, share them widely. Next slide, please. I also wanted to mention the Hello brochure is out. Tracy Gray, who was with us earlier, was instrumental in developing it. And it is a wonderful, new, updated, modernized, and effective advertising piece that you can have in your hand, you can have in your pocket, that you should be sharing widely. Club branch guide is here somewhere, and you will find when you order the club branch kit, it's going to give you some resources as well as the forms that are necessary to be filled out, and the brochure, the multi-page brochure, which follows the same theme as the others, that you will need as a guide to get you through the process for the club branch. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here. No. Okay. Submitting the charter application. And this sheet that you see on this page is something that I keep really at my fingertips as a the questions come up regularly about what the fees are for students, for Leo Lions, for everybody, and it's all on here. What the international dues are, what the charter fees are, if there are charter fees for folks, because the charter fees are discounted in some cases as well as eliminated in others. So this is a very, very handy sheet to keep at your fingertips. I laminated this. That's how often I refer to it. I got my hands on it almost on a daily basis. So that is something you're going to want to keep handy, as well as your checklist. So with that, I'm going to move to a closing, if I may. And I want to thank everybody for your time this evening. And I know some folks had to leave on the hour to get to their meetings. We lost about 10. But thank you all for your time, commitment, and dedication to the expansion of our great association. And we're doing this in order to meet the expanding needs of our community as well as our world. So with that, again, thank you. And I'm passing the baton right back to you, Juanita Nichols, on the opposite coast to give us a heads up as to our final session.
Right, our final session, we will go into the actual charter approval process and preparing for that evening or day of celebration when you actually go through the chartering. And also, key factor is what's next? What happens after you charter that club? How can you support that club? And well, how would be the best way to go about it? Because we all know that chartering the club is not it's charter, leave them on their own. You don't do that. We want to be there to nurture them and to help them grow and thrive because they're learning. And as we all know, we don't learn things all overnight. It's a process. We have to be there to support them. The slides and the recording will be made available. Mark had to leave also for another session, so he will be forwarding the items to everybody that attended. But in closing, besides saying thank you for being and participating here with us, I want to thank Hilary for an awesome job. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's been a lot of fun working with you and Michelle. Again, next one is December 18th, but between now and then, start thinking of everything that you've learned the last session and this session. And it's a given. You're going to have to review the material. You will not remember all of it because there's a lot to it. But start thinking, if you haven't built your teams yet, start building that team. How can you make it fit to work for you? Because like I said last time, we all have different demographics. We all have different geographical areas that we cover. And we all have different expertise within our districts as well too, as within our clubs. But start thinking about it with your teams. First Vice District Governors, you're putting your team together right now. How are you going to make this fit and start on it now? And of course, it's never too late and it's never too early. Thing is to keep that momentum going, everyone. But I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Manny for helping behind the scenes as well too. Any closing remarks, Hilary or Michelle?
I have none, Juanita. I think I look forward to the third session. I found this to be stimulating. There's always something that all of us, experienced or not, can learn from these processes. And I thank the Lions of California for engaging the Lions in the East Coast and the South in this, and including us in this. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely. And the need is there, even though it's repeated. The need is there because, like I mentioned once before, everybody presents differently, material shares different experiences, and it's those experiences and that knowledge base that all of us can share and learn from each other. But Manny, any closing remarks before we close off?
Well, there's a button. Yeah, just again, going over to online with some of the resources that are out there. There's plenty of that to go. Share best practices with each other would be some of the ideas to get out there. In fact, I'm working on a charter night, I'm coming up with cool ideas for what to do during the charter night that goes beyond the workbook. So those sharing ideas is great.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have an enjoyable rest of your evening. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the 18th to close it off and for your beginning. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Juanita.
Good night.
Good night.